My fabric stash has gotten absolutely bonkers. I've got overflowing baskets, I've got piles of fabric falling over, I've got drawers that I can barely open. So today, I'm challenging myself to get organized with 5 genius ideas for fabric storage. I'll show you which ones worked for me and which ones kinda sucked. I'm here at my backyard sewing shed where I've already put a lot of thought into how things are organized, so let's go in and see how things are going. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, things have gotten a little bit chaotic in here. So I'm not sure even what I have anymore. My fabric is kind of in multiple places all around the sewing shed here. And it's making it hard for me to sew for my stash because I don't know what I have. So I end up buying more fabric, which is kind of a vicious cycle where I just keep buying more and then the fabric stash gets bigger and it gets messier and it kind of perpetuates itself. It's actually making me want to sew less, which that's a bad sign for me because you guys know sewing is something that brings me so much joy and I need to keep it that way. So I need to get this stuff organized. So let's start with the biggest part of my stash, which is this cabinet. In theory, this is great. I really like having my drawers labeled and separated by fabric type. It keeps things really nice and organized. But I ran out of room and I really can't easily see what's in here. So my solution for this was to take everything out of my drawers and to roll the fabric instead of folding it so it doesn't fall all over the place. I also took out the interfacing so I could make more room, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that in a minute. And this was actually one of the most helpful things I did. I took out those fabrics that take up the most room, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with those in a minute as well. All right, so what should I do with all this interfacing? That was my next question. So interfacing is something that I pull out when I need it. I know what I need and I look for that specific thing. I don't really need to browse through my interfacing. So that brings me to my next idea. I took these 24-inch mailing tubes and I rolled up my interfacing to store in there. I labeled the tubes with interfacing so I know what they are later. Rolling up the interfacing and putting in here was actually a little bit tricky. So one thing you can do, I didn't have a chance to do this, but one thing you can do is take a dowel and roll it around the dowel, and that'll make it a lot easier to put it inside the tube. Once I had it in there, I put it in the floor basket where I keep my patterns. Now I need to do something with those really bulky fabrics. They just took up way too much space in the drawers, and rolling them or folding them, no matter what I did with them, they're gonna take up a ton of space in there. So here's what I did. I got these long mailing tubes. So these are 30-inch mailing tubes, so a little bit longer than the 24-inch ones that I used for the interfacing. They're super sturdy, and what I did is I just wrapped fabric around them. So this is similar to what you'd see in a fabric store. And what I like about this solution is that you're using vertical space. So it's not just horizontal space like when you're putting it in a drawer, but it's actually kind of using wall space to store your fabric. So I put these in the same basket that I have my interfacing in. If you wanted to use this for more than a few fabrics, one thing I've seen is people take a wine rack and they put that on the floor just to hold the tubes. A basket works for me, but you can find a wine rack at your local thrift store, maybe use that. All right, so a big part of my stash is reorganized, which is great. And I wish I could tell you that was everything, but oh no, my friends, it is definitely not everything. And I am saving the most shameful corner for last. But in the meantime, I want to show you this shelf over here. Okay, so first I want to address this. So the idea here was that I wanted to see all the fabric that I kind of had queued up for my next season of sewing. And I actually really like doing it this way, but it gets really, really messy. And when I have to pull things out from the middle, it just kind of falls over and it's kind of a mess. So what I did is I got this inexpensive file box and some folders to put in it. So this is the kind of file box where you can hang folders from the edges. And then I just drape the fabric over the file folder like this. This makes it so much easier to stay organized and to pull things out. Okay, so here is the worst part, this cursed basket. I bought this basket because I wanted a place to put kind of my overflow fabric, and it is literally overflowing onto the floor. So I need to do something about this because it bothers me so much. I actually have a baby sweater in here that I made for my niece when she was a baby. She's not even a baby anymore. I brought it here so I could mend it because a button fell off, and I haven't done it. So what I need is a solution for what I'm calling my fabric backstock. So I'm here in my garage because I actually already have a bin right up here with a bunch of extra fabric in it. But the problem is that I never look at it. The fabric up here might as well be under the sea where it will stay for all eternity. So here's what I'm gonna do. I took down that bin and then I found another empty bin to use. I then went through all the fabric that had been in that basket and the fabric that would have already been in storage, and I cut swatches from all of it. And I wanted to label each swatch. So what I did is I bought a pack of blank business cards. These are really inexpensive. And I stapled the swatch to the business card and wrote the yardage right on the business card. I then used these inserts that are made for business cards, and I put the swatches in there. Now I can flip through and see what I have in my backstock at any time. Okay guys, it's a month later and I wanted to update you on how the fabric storage is going. I've managed to keep the system going, and I even managed to sew this dress from this fabric that had been in my stash for years. I honestly don't think that would have happened before. I think I would have just bought a new fabric for it, but having this more organized stash really allowed me to see what I have and to use more of what I have, so I love that. My favorite storage trick that I tried was definitely the file box. I'm still using it for all the fabrics that I plan to sew with in the next season, so it kind of feels like this little fabric inbox to me. It actually gets me really excited to flip through and think about what I'm going to be making soon. I think the lesson here is to do what it takes to make your stash, 1, highly visible, and 2, really just fun to look through. If it feels overwhelming or if it feels stressful, then you're just a lot less likely to use it. By the way, if you like this dress and you want to make one yourself, you can get it at seamwork.com. It's the ash dress, and I'll put a link to that below. And if you like seeing how I organize and design my sewing space, I think you'll love this video, which is a tour of my sewing shed. Check it out and I'll see you there.